And today is really special because we get this question so many times. We get people that come into our office and they are trying to figure out exactly like what do I need to do to really take it to the next step to really boost my credit score. So we're going to show you um some real tactical practices that we do for boosting credit scores. It doesn't hurt us to share. In fact, I think that the more people that know how to do it, the better they are, the quicker they can get into the game and get off the sidelines because they understand these foundations. How many of you have always wanted to know like how does the credit system work? Like how do you shoot your score? How many of you, if that's you, say me in the comments.
The one thing that I want to start off by saying is credit is a game. Like,
Mhm.
yes, it has a score attached to it, but it's a game. And in order to beat credit, you got to understand the rules to the game. A lot of us don't even understand the rules to the credit game, and we're afraid to even get into the game because we don't understand the rules. So this is a foundational piece for a lot of people, so that you can understand credit and don't be afraid to use credit to your advantage.
Absolutely. The more you know, the easier it is, the more you understand what it is that will take you to that next level, like what it is that will get you over that obstacle, that hurdle, that obstacle or that barrier. All right. So I
I
want to
want to
first
before you go.
okay.
Um, we weren't always this deep into credit. It started because our foundational strategy is the X Flipper method. And in that X Flipper method, we help people go from renting to owning. So a lot of times people would come to us and they was just looking to rent, but literally they was 30 to 45 days away from buying a house with a couple of tweaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's crazy to know that people just don't understand credit. So that's kind of how we dove into credit, and then it expounded once we got deep into real estate and we understood the power of leverage and the power of business funding. So a lot of stuff we teach is how to get you to that 700 credit score so you can get business funding in 30 days or less.
Absolutely. I remember our first client that we were taking from renting to owning came to us and had a zero credit score. And I was like, I can't do nothing with this. And this was the beginning of the game. This was 2016 when we started doing the X slip away. And I was like, there is no way I can help this young lady. Like, I don't know how to go from a score of zero to being able to qualify for a home. And what I didn't understand was she actually had a great credit report, but because I didn't know enough at that time, I had an even bigger hurdle than she had because I couldn't direct her and guide her because I thought that because she didn't have any points on her credit report, that automatically meant she didn't have anything. But that was far from the truth. She actually had a better credit report than some of the people that was coming into our program. So knowing where you are is important. We're going to talk about what is credit and how it works. All right, that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what a good credit report should look like. We're also going to teach you how to understand the reports, like what is it really saying, how to build your credit from scratch. So, like that young lady who had zero, how to build it from scratch, and then how to build credit if you have high utilization. Some people have high utilization where they're like, I got to pay down everything before I can apply for this or before I can do these things. Yes, paying it down is an option, but we're going to show you hacks and tricks that we use to get them down in the next 30 to 45 days. And then how to build that credit history if you have a little history. She didn't have any credit history, so we had to literally build her up from scratch. So those are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. Make sure you stay to the end because we're going to give our hacks for making it work no matter what situation you're in, whether you have high utilization, whether you don't have any credit, maybe you have a mixture, you don't even have enough accounts. So we're gonna talk about everything. I want you to ask your questions because remember, this is for you at the end of the day. So I want you to make sure you ask your questions and then let's get you over those hurdles. Let's get you over those barriers. All right. Antonio, you want to add anything before we go?
Now you said more than enough.
All right, let's do it. All right, so what is credit? Creditors want to know that you can pay back whatever they give you.
That is not what that screen said.
Well, I'm giving my definition. You can read the definition, but they want to make sure that you have the ability to pay back the goods and services that you acquire off of credit. All right, that they can trust you to make payments in the future that it will be paid. You want to add to it? You sure? All right. So one thing that most creditors don't want to know is they don't want to give. Let me rephrase that. Creditors don't want to give credit to people who need credit. All right. So if your profile looks like you need credit, then they don't want to give credit to you. All right. They want to give credit to people who don't look like they're gonna max out the credit. All right. So it is important to when you're starting to ask for credit, when you're starting to ask for credit line increases, when you're starting to ask for credit cards and lines of credit, that it doesn't look like you actually need that credit. All right. I know that's hard, but I need y'all to work with me on that. Okay.
And to piggyback on Ashley, that's why it's so important to do these things ahead of time. Um, before you get into that property, before you start that journey, make sure your profile is set up and make sure you go get some funding then. Because if you start using the credit, then that's going to send up red flags to them to where you're going to get denials. Mm-hmm. So always remember, prepare to keep that credit good and go for funding before you need it.
Absolutely. All right. Credit can range from 300 to 850. All right. That's what your credit score can range from 300 to 850. 850 obviously means you have immaculate, perfect credit. You got a mixture of accounts. You just got everything going that should be going. 300 means you probably don't have a lot of accounts. You probably have a couple of collections. You got some late fee. Let me say this. You don't have to have many derogatories to be at a 300. That just probably means you don't have a lot, and the ones that you do have are derogatory. All right. I hear so many people, Antonio, say, I want to have an 850, I want to have an 800 credit score. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is, why do you want to have it? Like, what do you want from having that 800 and 850 credit score? And it's so important to understand those wants, because a lot of times the same things that you can get with having a 720, a 750 credit score, you can have with getting an 800 and 850 credit score. So don't beat yourself up when it comes to having such a high credit score if you don't know specifically what it is that you want with it. Now, that 800, that 850 credit score is going to unlock a certain line of credit for you, then that's a reason for it. But always know what it is that you want from having it.
My goal is not to have an 850 credit score, because if I have an 850 credit score, that means I'm not taking advantage of the credit opportunities I have. Because what you'll find out later on in training is every time you get a new account, that affects your credit. Mm-hmm. So if you got an 850, that means you're going years without adding new accounts to your credit profile. That's not good. That's not how credit is supposed to be used. That's not how wealthy people use their credit.
Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid to take chances, take risks when it comes to it, and let your credit make money for you. When it comes to credit, there are 3 credit bureaus. You got Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. All right. Those are the 3 major credit bureaus. All right. Are there some secondary ones? Absolutely. But these are the major ones that people trust the most. When you go looking for a car, these are what they're going to pull. When you're going looking for a house, they're going to pull from Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, or maybe a combination. When you're going for funding, they're going to pull from these 3. All right. So it's important to check them regularly. It's important to make sure that there isn't anything reporting on there that shouldn't be on there. All right. Your credit scores are determined by 5 major factors. All right. And let's just go to it before I spill the guts. So those credit breakdowns are new credit, like Antonio said, that's worth 10% of your credit score. Types of credit. What does types of credit mean, Antonio?
Types of credit means Do you have installment loans and revolving accounts? So installment loans are student loans, house loans, car loans, personal loans. Credit cards are Amex, Chase, Bank of America, lines of credit. So do you got a different mix of those type of things on your report? You don't want to have all revolving. You don't want to have all installment. You want to have a mixture. You want to have, like I said, the house, the car, the personal. All those things help make your profile strong.
Absolutely. And then next is your payment history. That's worth 35%. So if you ever notice, if you miss a payment or if you go 30, 60 days, your credit score drops immediately and it's a big drop. And that's because of your payment history is worth 35% of your credit score. So if you miss a payment, it's going to immediately drop down a lot of points, like not 5, not 4, like literally, you may drop 20, you may drop 30 points depending on what your credit report looks like.
Mhm.
All right. Amounts owed is based off of your revolving line of credit. All right. And that 30% is, say your credit card, say you have $100,000 in credit card. All right. In limits, $100,000 in credit card limits. 30% of that is how much. So say you go over that 30%, your credit score is worth 30% of that overall score. So guess what?
You lost me.
I jumbled that up.
Yeah, you jumbled
Okay.
lie.
So go back. The more you use on your revolving lines of credit, the lower your score is going to be.
Okay.
So when you max out your revolving, because that's worth 30% of your credit score, your score is going to drop. All right.
So what about installment loans, Ashley? Are they counted in that right there?
They're not. They don't move with that 30%. They just go for your types of credit.
So keep in mind, if you have a new car and your new car is $20,000, your loan is for $20,000 and your balance is $20,000. That's not a part of your 30%. All right. They understand that when you get installment loans are going to be maxed out. They're not going to really hurt you for that. Where a new account hurts you is because it's new and that's going to affect the age of your report. All right. So understand that revolving, and to make it simple, is anything that you can pay back, anything that you can pay and go get it back is revolving. All right. Keep that under 30%. In an ideal world, under 10%. One of the best things that I can tell you is if you get $100 credit card, that credit card is not $100. That credit card is $30. All right. Did I do that right?
You did it right. So always remember, you don't want to use more than 30%. At 31%, then your credit report calculates it as debt and not credit. And that's what starts your credit score to drop. So you want to stay under 30% utilization on that credit card, on all your credit cards, as much as possible. Now, let me say this. The amounts owed is the total of all of them collected. So you can be at 0% on one, you can be
Not
at
0%.
At zero utilization on one, 29% utilization on the other. So it can fluctuate between them, but all together they need to be under 30%.
Yep.
All right.
That's key. A lot of times people have low credit scores. That's the number one factor right there. And let me say this before you go too far.
Okay.
The thing about the credit report is it doesn't matter what the balances are. If I got a $300 card and it's maxed out, and I got a $15,000 card and it's maxed out, it's going to hurt my credit the same. No matter if this is a small account or a big account, the limits does not matter when it comes to your score. Okay, the limits matter in other categories, but for your score, it doesn't matter. If you got 5 credit cards, that's $1,000 or less, and I got 5 credit cards that's $10,000 or more, it doesn't matter. It all matters about the utilization on that card. That is super important to understand.
All right. So let's see if we missed anything when it comes to payment history. I think we talked about 35% of your score. As long as you are making things on time, late and missed payments are going to affect that score. All right.
Before you go,
Okay.
understand that for most accounts, you don't get a late payment on your credit report until you are 30 days late. So if your payment is due on the first and you pay it on the sixth, you're not getting a late payment. All right. You got to go all the way around to the next 30 days before it reports to your credit report. So whatever you do, make sure you pay the minimum amount on those accounts so that you don't get late payments. That's going to mess up your payment history.
Right. All right. When it comes to usage, just make sure at the end of the day you don't use over 30%. I like to be under 20%, but if you absolutely have to, 30%. If you go 1 month where you're 31, make sure the next month you bring it back down. All right. Don't go over 30% if you can stand it. All right, Tanya, you want to talk about age of accounts a little bit more?
Yes. So the age of your accounts is 15% of your credit score. All right. And the thing that you have to understand about the age of accounts is whenever you get a new account, it factors into the age of your account. So if I have a student loan from 20 years ago, my credit age isn't 20 years old. It's going to take the average of all the accounts I have. So if I have a average of 5 years credit and I get a new card, that's going to drop my average down. So keep in mind the reason your score drops when you get new accounts is because your credit age changes.
Yeah.
All right.
And I like to think of it as when you're in school and you got all A's, say you had 4 A's and then all of a sudden you get a zero. That average in your class, that zero is gonna weigh a lot. So when you get that new car, that new house, you're at a zero. It's gonna take a significant tank in your age, which is why your credit score drops. A lot of times we get a new car and we like, oh my goodness, something happened, my credit score dropped. It's because your age of accounts dropped. And you just gotta give it time to start building back up.
That's due to the words out of my mouth. Don't panic. As long as you make those payments and don't get no late payments, your score is going to go back up.
Yeah.
Y'all, I promise.
So it's just a part of the process. All right. We talked about this. Revolving accounts are the accounts that when you pay it down, you can get access to those funds again. All right. Installments are your house loans, your cars, your personal loans. When you pay those down, you don't get access to the funds again. All right. Those are installments. And then when you're doing the lines of credit, they you're gonna say they are counted as revolving. You want to talk about that because they're counted as revolving and installment all at the same time, depending on who's looking at it.
From what aspect?
From you can get access to those funds again, but they're not counted towards your revolving when you're going through funding, like
Okay,
your
so
line
that's
of credit. That was tricky.
Like that.
Okay, do it the simple way. Say it as simple as possible.
Consider a revolving account and keep it under 30%.
Okay, all right. I'm not
Don't make it different.
All right. Soft inquiries do not report to your credit report, but hard inquiries do. So if you are pulling your credit report yourself, then those don't report to your credit report. But I want to go back real quick because I want you guys to understand when we talked about the amount, it's not worth that much. Okay. No, this one don't have the new. Oh yeah, new 10%. Credit. It's only worth 10%. So when you are getting an inquiry because you had an installment, it is literally not making your credit score jump. I know it feels like it's making it jump, but it's not. Okay.
Say it again.
When you get a hard inquiry, it's not making a significant amount.
It is not
a dent to your credit report.
Like you got to have a lot of inquiries for you to really see a big effect from inquiries. Mm-hmm. Now it's possible you go looking for a car, they can shop you around. You can get 10, 20, 30 inquiries.
People, yeah.
But understand that if you got 10 inquiries and you get those 10 increments removed, don't think your score's gonna do a hell of a jump. All right,
It's not.
it's not. That all that other stuff is what's gonna make your score jump. Paying down your debt, getting those late payments removed.
Making sure you have a mixture of accounts.
Yes,
Those
adding
are-
aids to your report.
Those are what's going to move the needle when it comes to your credit report, not these increases.
Not the increase.
And so many people say this, like, well, I don't want my credit right now. I don't want to get no hits from my inquiry because it's going to drop my score. No, it's not.
It's not. It's not that drastic of a situation. Like we had somebody going through business funding and they didn't want to get any more increase because they felt like their score was going to drop. But they left $50,000 on the table in funding because they were scared of increase.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just got to understand credit, and that's why I say a lot of times we don't even understand the game of credit.
We just go off of what we've heard, what people said, and they're not even studying it to even tell you.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about a good credit report. This is what a great credit report looks like. All right.
Great. This is like, wow.
Now it doesn't mean that you don't have to hit all these boxes, okay? Should you be close? This is what you should aim towards. All right. So payment history 100%. That means no missed payments, no late payments. That's what you want. Credit card utilization. You want to make sure you're under 6%. This is for a great. Remember, if you're under 30, that's good for keeping your credit score solid, all right, and not having it drop up and down. But you really want to see it jump, get it to under 6%. All right. No derogatories, meaning no collections, no charge-offs. That's what those derogatories are. Okay, because these three are the ones that are impacted the highest on your credit report. The payment history, utilization, and derogatories. All right. You want your age to be about 5 years, almost 6 years at minimum. Because this shows that credit has been established and it has been maintained for quite some time. It's not a brand new credit account. Everything has been cleaned and they starting over. This shows that this person's been taking care of credit. All right. Total accounts. Most people don't have 17 total accounts.
Don't.
Most people don't. But you want to get to at least about 9 or 10 at your minimum of accounts, because that's what's going to also make your credit score go up. The number of accounts, the mixture of accounts. You want to go over hard increase?
See.
So
hard increase was 2. So as long as you fall under hard increase, you good. And remember about increase. Increase are on a per bureau count system. So if you got 2 on Equifax, 2 on TransUnion, and 2 on Experian, that's not 6 increase. That's only 2 increase per bureau.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you're great.
Absolutely great. You're actually perfect. So don't be like, oh, I got so many. You do not. In fact, you can have more. All right. I've had people come to us wanting to buy a house where they have 20 per bureau. Like, no lie. 20 per bureau. So it's fine, you guys. And a lot of times that happens again when we're shopping for cars and we're just letting the dealership just go through and say, all right, well, we're going to see who gives us the best deal. No, we're going to check it before we go into the dealership because we're going to already know the deal we have to keep them low. All right. So when moments come where we need to go through funding or we need to build our credit, we can do it versus it being shopped around for a car. All right. Yep. Let's talk about credit boosters.
Okay.
We developed this term credit boosters when we're doing our lease options with our clients, teaching them how to go from renting to owning. And the credit boosters is what helped a lot of our clients literally shoot their credit score up in no time. All right. It's a line of credit that a borrower has opened. It's in good standing. All right. It's important that this line of credit is in good standing and that it's been open for a period of time. You want to at least have something that's open for at least 2 years because that won't drop. Remember, we don't want that 0 when it comes to our credit age. So we want it at least a 2 so that even out and not drop our credit age significantly. All right. And then that credit booster will immediately once if it's the right one for you, let me say that, will immediately boost up your credit score. All right. So let's talk about ways, honey, of that a credit booster can help.
All right. A credit booster can help lower your utilization. So, hypothetically speaking, if you have a 30% utilization and you add a credit booster that has a $20,000 limit, that could drop your utilization from 30 to 15%, 20%. So, when you add a trade line, remember that when they're counting your utilization, they're counting all of your utilization.
Mm-hmm.
They're adding up all of your balances. They're adding up all of your credit limits. And that's how they're getting your utilization. So if you add a credit booster that don't have no balance but have high limits, that's going to lower your utilization.
And literally, that can be done without you paying $5,000, $10,000 down on a card. You can use a credit booster, which is also a trade line. You can use that, and it will lower your utilization. All right. They're a fraction of the $5,000 or $10,000 that you probably owe from the amount of usage on your card. All right. It also adds a primary account to your card. And when I say it adds an account, if you only have 4 accounts and you need to get to 7 or you need to get to 9, that can help you add an account.
Yeah. So that, I don't know if we say it later on, but like you can go to Kickoff, that can add a primary account. You can go to Self Lender, that'll add a primary account. You can go to Rent Reporters. Did I say that?
Yeah, Rent Reporters, Credit Karma.
Rental Karma. Like all those things can
Karma.
add primary accounts to your credit report. All right. The best one that we like is Rent Reporter because you can actually backdate the rent. So it can actually do wonders to your credit because you can improve 2 areas by getting 1 new account.
Yes.
If you can add 5 years of back history and a new account, you just
killed 2 birds with 1 stone. All right. And then it diversifies the type of accounts that you have and the number of accounts that you have. So trade lines, credit boosters are by far one of the best ways to quickly build that credit score up in the next 30 to 45 days. And the reason why I say 30 to 45 days, it depends on when the next reporting date is and when you get it. So if you just got it and the reporting date was yesterday, then you have to wait that whole cycle until it reports again.
And let me say this about credit boosters. If someone has if grandma had a card for 20 years and she adds you to that card, you're going to get all 20 years of history added to your report. So that's super valuable. That's super key. That way, if your report is low on age, you can take her 20 years, add it to your report. Now your average age is going to go up. So remember, everything that's on their report on that particular trade line will report to your report. Even the bad stuff. If they got missed payments, those missed payments are going to transfer to your report.
Yes.
So make sure that there are no missed payments on the trade lines that you get.
Absolutely. Let's talk about why do they need credit boosters. So reasons why you may need a credit booster is to get funding, whether you're trying to get real estate funding, whether you're trying to get business funding, you need to meet a certain parameter when it comes to getting funding. So your credit score may need to be a certain score in order to get it. Those credit boosters are going to help you get there. Maybe you need to buy a house and you don't just qualify right now, or you want a lower interest payment and you need to boost up your score so that your interest is lower. You can get a credit booster for that. If you're buying franchises and they need to see more accounts, they need to know that your credit worthiness is there, then you will get one for that. Background checks, getting apartments, like the list goes on. Buying a car, like the list goes on for the need of credit boosters. Sometimes even with insurance, you may need a credit booster.
One thing I want to say about credit is we got to stop treating credit like it's a bad thing in our households, man. We got to start having conversations about credit. Like people don't like talking about what their credit score is. Like we got to start normalizing having those conversations because if we're not having those conversations, we can't get better. Even though they're uncomfortable conversations.
Very much.
Like when we first started, y'all, I actually used to hate looking at her credit score.
I still
do. But you got to understand that you got to analyze it. You got to look at it. You got to find ways to improve it so you can utilize it to grow your business.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this is when I hate to see it. When I know that I have overspent on my credit cards, oh, I do not want to see it. But when I pay them down, and I'm dying to see it then. But the months where I spent it and I don't
like
see that.
Like she'll go months without even checking. Like, Ashley, what was your credit score? I don't know. Like, how you not checking your credit?
I expect him to do it. I expect him to do it, and I know it's bad, but seriously, I can tell you how to fix it. I even know how to fix it, and it's just like it's an adrenaline rush, and sometimes I don't want to feel that adrenaline rush.
I got you. But we got to start feeling those adrenaline rushes.
We do.
In our household. We got to start talking about credit. We got to start building credit because it's so much easier. This is what I'm going to tell you. It's so much easier to go get $100,000 in business funding versus save $100,000 in cash.
You can never save that $100,000 in cash. Like you can't save enough to get to that $100,000. It's so hard to do it. But you can literally strategize. You can really put yourself in position, and you can get $100,000 in business funding in 30 days. Versus, it may take you years to save $100,000. And it is so important. The speed of money is so important because the quicker you get to that $100,000, is the quicker you get to that next $100,000, and after that 300,000, that million. But the longer it takes, you don't even feel like you got it. So like for somebody that makes 25,000 a year, yeah, you gonna make $1 million sometimes, but it's different when you've had that $100,000 boost and that helps you get to $1 million versus you trying to save it. The speed of money is important, y'all.
Yep.
All right. That's what helps you build wealth. Let's talk about the people who have no credit, Tonya.
All right.
They have absolutely no credit. It's a zero. They may have cleaned their credit, or they just didn't believe in credit.
Or they was in jail most of their adult life, and they got out and they ain't have no credit.
And they have no credit. All of those are legit factors. Seriously, all of those are legit factors. Yeah. So, so listen. If you have no credit, then you want to make sure you get 3 primary accounts. All right. 3 primary accounts could be credit boosters. It could be rent reporters. All right. You can start renting. It can be a self-lender.
A secured card.
Let those be your 3 primary accounts. So we got rent reporters, self-lender, and a secured card.
Man, if you go to Kickoff, and I got a code for Kickoff, but I don't use it that often. I just love them. They can give you all 3 of those with up under their umbrella. So like you don't even have to go to multiple places if you go to Kickoff. They can report your rent, they can give you a secured card and give you a loan all under one umbrella. So I would start there to make it simple. Now I'm not saying they have the best secured card, they have the best rent reporter, they have the best loan. But I'm saying to make it simple, I would go to them and get all of it to start building.
Absolutely. And then once you get those 3 primary accounts, then you want to get 3 credit boosters. All right. You want to make sure that they've been open for a few years because you already don't have any history. So you don't want to get things that are zero. You want to get something with a few years. So that way you immediately look like you have years and that boosts up your score. All right. Because remember how much is weighed. You want to make sure that area is tackled. And then you want to have limits of at least 3,000. All right. Ideally per credit booster. Those are going to immediately get their credit score up.
If a person did these things and they got the right credit boosters, a limit of 3,000, not much usage, under 5% usage, they'll have a 700 credit score in 30 days.
Every time.
Guaranteed. If they have nothing on that credit report, they got no bad stuff. They don't got no good stuff, but they don't got no bad stuff. You can get 3 primary accounts. you can get you 3 credit boosters, and you'll have a 700 credit score in I say 30 days, less
because
than
you need it to
45 days.
report. Yeah, you got to give it time to report.
So less than 45 days, you will have a 700 credit score. We've done it multiple times, like not 1 or 2 times, like multiple times. The best people to us are the people that don't have any credit.
Don't have any credit.
Those are the best people we like to work with.
It shoots up like instantly. Like, where have you been? No credit. These are the steps that you need. All right, let's talk about someone with high utilization. They have high utilization. You need to get credit boosters to, one, make sure you lower that utilization. All right, without physically paying off those cards. Never close the card. All right, you want to pay it. You want to use the credit boosters to make it look like you paid down your debt, but it actually, you didn't even touch that debt.
So let me ask you this question, Ash.
Okay, ask me.
Why is it not good to close my account or my account?
Oh, okay. So we shouldn't be closing these accounts because it's gonna affect your age. All right, your average is gonna go down. So say you had a card that was 10 years old, and yes, you had a high limit, but you finally paid it off. Pay it off, but don't close it, because that 10 years is helping you with your age. So when you close it, now that average goes down. So now you drop. And you don't want that 30%, 35% drop just because of that 10-year card that you decided, I don't even want to use this no more. The interest is too high. It's ridiculous. This is not even a good card. It's a good card. Just don't put nothing on it. Just go buy bubble gum on it every 3 months so it doesn't close. All right.
Yeah.
Buy gas on it. Like, do little things to put on it. But whatever you do, do not close that card that's been around for years. All right. Pay it off, pay it down, but don't close it.
And the other thing is, it's going to lower the number of accounts that you have. And God forbid it got a balance. If that card is closed and it has a balance, remember how it works. They take your overall limits and your balances and get your average. All right. So if you got a balance on a card, but you don't even have a utilization to offset it, your credit score is going to shoot up. Shoot down because your utilization is going to shoot up. All right. Do not close them old cards. Even if they got the yearly fee on them, don't close them cards because they are helping your report. Or if you close it, don't be surprised when your score drops. Don't be like, what happened? I didn't know. No, we're telling you now.
You don't say that inquiry that I had that made my score drop.
It was not that inquiry. It's the fact that you just closed the oldest credit card you had on your report.
All right. So let's say that someone has very little age. All right. If you have very little age, then you need a credit booster that has over 2 years of history. Every credit booster you get, if y'all haven't noticed it, you don't need any missed payments on it. All right. Those missed payments are going to drop your credit score instead of help your credit score. So you want to make sure that there are no missed payments on you guys. All right. Credit boosters with over 2 years, I think y'all know why by now. And it's because you want to make sure that average stays intact. All right. You want to make sure that average stays intact and that you don't lose it. All right. So making sure it has at least 2 years. The more years, the better. But let me also say this. The older that credit booster is, the more it costs.
Fact.
Okay.
The higher that limit.
The higher the limit, the more it costs. So just prepare to pay the piper because that it just costs. Someone who has, and it should cost, someone who has had an account open for 8-7 years and it has no missed payments and it has great history, like it should cost.
The one thing that we really stress is understand the foundation and the principles. All right. Let's hypothetically say, hey, you find somebody that has a trade line, but it's a year old, or it's less than a year, but they got $25,000 limit on it. If that's the case, we're not telling you can't use that card. Just know you got to go get another trade line to offset that short age. So your next card might have to have a 5 or 6 year history so that it offsets and it balances out.
Mhm.
So understand if you go do a secured card, that's going to be a new account. You might have to get a trade line with history to offset the new account.
Mhm.
So one action is probably going to cause another reaction. But you just got to understand what you're trying to get to. Did I say that wrong?
Yeah, understand the big picture of it. Absolutely. All right, so let's talk about if you have late payments. So you have late payments. Ideally, what I really want you to do first is try to go through credit repair and get those late payments off. That's what I want you to try to do first. All right. But if you can't get them off and you want to kind of mix sugar with, you know what, then this is the best way to do it. You want to make sure that you get credit boosters that have no missed payments and that it has over 2 years of great history. Like the more great history you add, the less those late payments look on yours.
Oh, you gotta say that again.
The more great history you have, the least amount that is your late payment history affect you. If you have a lot of late payments, don't even try this. Okay, go through credit repair first, see how much of those you can get off, and then try this method.
So your payment history is very similar to the age on your report. All right. So if you have an opportunity to make 100 payments on time and you miss one, that's a 99% payment history. But understand if you add a trade line and that trade line has years on it, now instead of 100, let's say you got 200 opportunities. So now that late payment don't hurt as much because you have showed that you can make on-time payments.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, it's all an average. The way you offset a late payment is by adding more good payments.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about this boost here.
All right. So this young lady came to us. She joined our coaching program and she wanted to get business money. Her credit profile was actually good, like, but her score wasn't the best. So she was really like in a down place. But what we did was, what was her issue was, she had like 4 or 5 small credit cards that all were maxed out. So let's just hypothetically say she had 5 credit cards, $2,000 limit, and all of them was maxed out at $2,000. That's why her credit was so low. She didn't have any late payments. She didn't have any derogatories. Her utilization was super high. All right. So what we did was, and you got to pay attention because remember, cause and effect. All right. What we did was we went and got her. She went and got it herself, but under our direction, a personal loan for $10,000. All right. And she took that $10,000 and paid off all of her credit cards. So all those 5 cards that was $2,000 a piece, now they was down to zero. Yes, she had a new account, but the fact that she paid down those cards so much, it shot her score 148 points.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that.
And then that allowed her to get over 160,000 in business funding. But just by getting that personal loan, letting that personal loan, because remember that personal loan doesn't hit like your revolving.
It's an installment loan.
It's an installment loan. So the amount of usage isn't counted the way a revolving is. She took that, paid down that revolving, and immediately she was able to go get business funding.
And I'm gonna tell you the other thing about it, in total transparent, just telling her to do it, she probably wouldn't have done it. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you what made her do it. When we added up all of her small minimum payments, it was higher than the loan payment. So the fact that she was lowering her monthly bills was why she did it. Like the credit boost was just an extra. But the fact that, if hypothetically speaking, if it was 24 to 60 to 80, $200 that she was paying on those minimum payments combined, and her new loan was $100 a month, she was like, I'm gonna save money. So
it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer at that point for me to do it.
Yeah.
When her score shot up, she didn't believe it. Like literally,
this was her screenshot to us in Messenger. Like, y'all not gonna believe this. And it literally happens like all the time. It is literally just maneuvering it, understanding if we use these tactics and you use, okay, what do I have? Do I have high utilization? Okay, these are the steps that I need to take if I have high utilization. Do I not have enough accounts? These are the steps that I need to take if I don't have enough accounts. Like literally use the things that we just taught you and watch how in 30 to 45 days your credit score does wonders. Yeah. And I want you to tell us because I want to know when it happens.
I definitely want to know.
Because it's amazing to see it and then tell others, teach others, because that's what this is about, teaching others how to get to that next level and not just holding it to ourselves.
One of the reasons that we focus on this credit thing is because one of the top reasons people don't do real estate is because of money. Mm-hmm. And if we can teach you how to get access to the money, then you can overcome that obstacle. That's not an obstacle no more.
That's not.
I don't want to got $100,000 of business money. Money ain't an issue no more. Mm-hmm. Now it becomes I need knowledge. Mm-hmm. Now it becomes I need a community. Mm-hmm. So understand that's why we focus on the money part, because once you get the money, you can go.
You can go. All right. You guys, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. Let us know if you have any questions you want to talk about it. We're here to answer any questions. If by chance you leave and you have questions and you're watching the replay, make sure you drop it in the chat so that we can help you. Make sure you understand this. Make sure that you're accomplishing your goals. All right. We can do so many things if we just understand the game. All right. A part of our fear is not knowing. So the more you know, the less fear that you have. So let's make sure we are tuning in. Let's make sure we are asking questions. Let's make sure we are overcoming our obstacles, our hurdles, because that's what's going to get us into the game. All right.
Totally agree.
All right. Well, we love you guys. Have an amazing day.
Peace.